What's going on, family? Hey, I'm so excited. Lately, I've been recording so many sermons digitally. I haven't been in a live audience in months, which, is so unfamiliar for me, and I know it must feel unfamiliar for a lot of other people as well. And there's a couple of things that I've learned probably in the last 2 to 3 months of recording content digitally. Now, that can range from pre-recorded content that gets played or live content, but it's a live online service. So I've ran the gamut of recording content, speaking in an empty room or speaking in a room where the only people there are maybe musicians or camera operators. And so I kind of wanted to pull together these 5 tips that I have been using, that I've been implementing, that have been really helpful for me. Before we get into those 5 tips, I kind of want to even frame our discussion by talking about how much of a game changer COVID-19 has been for any communicator. If you've been used to live communication, I know that's me. I'm used to getting on planes, going to large gatherings, and speaking on stages to live gatherings of people. There's certain tools in that toolbox. There's certain strengths that you develop. There's certain habits even that you form when you are in front of live audiences over and over again. And the reality is that the habits or the tools or the strengths that we form in live audiences, some of those strengths translate well digitally, but some of those strengths could really kill us digitally. And I've seen a lot of people not really translate the beauty and the brilliance of their live stage gift to online audiences. And here's the deal. Speaking in front of a live audience is difficult. And if you can do that, if you can speak in front of a live audience, I promise you, you can make the leap to speaking to a camera, just like I'm doing right now. You can make the leap to online, to building an online presence, because I kid you not, it is a lot harder to overcome all the fear and all of the trepidation that comes with speaking in front of live people. And if you could do that, and hey, you're way on your way. You're well on your way to being able to translate that gift into an online or digital presence gift. Now, here's why COVID-19 is such a game changer. Here's why we're going to have to take this seriously, okay? Because whether or not COVID-19 happened, we would still be in a high demand for digital content anyway. It would have just happened in 2025 or 2030, but it's inevitable. The world is moving digital. YouTube, or you can just think about Netflix, just all of the platforms in which whether it's a traditional movie or traditional things are being done online. Schooling was eventually going to move online. COVID-19 just created a scenario in which the inevitable was happening now. And so I think that the demand for you to master digital communication is not going to go away. I know a lot of pastors, I know a lot of leaders who are just kind of trying to ride this out. They're just like, when we get back to normal. Actually, I think that COVID-19 has done what all great crises do. This crisis has pushed us forward. And if you ask me, I think that we've been pushed forward in the right direction. Now, I don't want to belittle anyone's pain or the heartache of maybe losing a loved one or losing a job. This is a crisis. What I am saying is crises always come with the opportunity to move forward, to innovate, to change. And I think that COVID-19 has actually done what was gonna be inevitable anyway. It's forced a bunch of preachers and communicators who are comfortable in live audiences to now get comfortable creating digital content for people to consume. Now, here's the other reason why COVID-19 is a game changer. I didn't see this one coming. COVID-19 is a game changer because, this is funny. I promise. Like, it may come off a certain way, but this is real. Like, and I'm not ashamed of it. In the past maybe 5 years, there have been tons of times where someone would try to book someone like Robert Madu or Brandon Cormier or my friend Brian Bullock, and if they weren't free, I would get those rebound speaking engagements, you know, like, hey, or someone would back out of an event because they were double booked, and then I would come through for a whole 2-year period, like 2017 and 2018. I called myself like the replacement, like the substitute guest speaker. Like, if you need a replacement, I got you. And what COVID-19 has done is that, guess what? Everyone's free on any date. So it's not the case anymore that speakers can kind of get like the leftovers or like that second round draft pick. Like, there's no second round draft pick. Literally yesterday, I created content for 3 churches on the same day. There's no more scheduling conflicts. There's no more I'm overbooked. Nope. Because the majority of the content right now is being pre-recorded, anyone can speak anywhere at any time, and a scheduling failure is not going to lead to speaking engagements anymore. I mean, just think about it. COVID-19 is a massive game changer. So, with that said, let's jump into these 5 tips. Now, I'm not an expert, but I've gotten lots of experience over the past couple of months. I thought that the first time I ever spoke at a Hillsong location would be live. You know, I'd pictured it in my mind over and over and over again. But my first time speaking at Hillsong Phoenix was not live. It was actually recorded in an empty room, and I'm not an expert, but I've got some experience when it comes to this, and I've learned a couple of things over the past couple of months that I want to pass on to you. Here's the first thing. This may seem super simple, but trust me, this is a game changer. The first thing that you need to know, if you're gonna record a sermon digitally, even if it's on TikTok or Instagram Live, whatever it is, you need to know exactly where the cameras are. I mean, exactly where they are, all right? The lens is your friend. You don't want to look around at an audience that doesn't exist. I've seen so many digital sermons where it's like communicators are doing things out of habit. And the habit, of course, they're in a habit of speaking to a live audience. There have been so many times where on stage, I'm recording a digital message and I'll say things like, how y'all doing today? It's like, well, man, no one can respond, you know? Once you've worked that muscle, you've got muscle memory. And if you don't make a switch and realize, I'm gonna have to practice different skills and stretch and flex different muscles, then you'll start doing live preaching and speaking. You'll start doing those habits instead of digital habits. So, number 1, you need to know exactly where the cameras are. In our sanctuary at World Overcomers, we've got about 5 cameras set up. And so whenever I record digital content to send to a church, I mean, it looks amazing, but sometimes all of the cameras that are in the room aren't turned on. So I always have to have a huddle with the production team. And I ask them, hey, which cameras are on? Which cameras are not? Which camera's the tight shot? Which camera, I want to know which camera is the wide angle. I have had to add production language and lingo to my repertoire if I'm going to be successful in this digital age of communication. So yes, that means you can't just know where Ephesians and Leviticus are. You've got to know where the cameras are, because I want to make sure that if there's a tight shot that's just on my face, that I'm looking right into that camera when I get to a point of the message that I feel like is gonna drive conviction or change. I'm making sure that I know exactly where the cameras are in the room so that I can interact with them in a way that is excellent. I'm not looking off into some sea of chairs. No, I'm focusing all of my attention on the cameras that are in the room. Now, you may think to yourself, man, that's just a lot of work. Recently, I watched Beyonce's performance at Coachella. It's on Netflix. You should check it out. I also learned she was a creative director for the entire project. And one of the things you learn when you're looking at the behind the scenes footage of her rehearsals leading up to Coachella, you begin to realize that Beyonce is not just a performer. That Beyonce is, good God, Beyonce wants to know what each light does. Beyonce wants to know what cameras are going to be used. Beyonce is sitting there with the costume designer figuring out the colors for the set. Beyonce is in every single detail. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if Beyonce can write music, learn lyrics, learn choreography, figure out the costume design, launch a whole nother clothing line called Ivy Park. If Beyonce can know what the names of these pieces of production equipment and lighting equipment are called, if Beyonce can pick out what kind of microphone she wants, then I've got news for you. You can study for your sermon and know where the cameras are. You are going to have to up your production knowledge if you are going to survive through not just this season of COVID-19, but the next wave of massive communication, which is going to happen digitally. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to micromanage. Actually, you're going to have to delegate just like in any other leadership scenario, but it's hard to delegate when you have no knowledge of what's going on. And you can't just show up and speak. Here's why. Before COVID-19, when we had live audiences, the live audience was your primary audience. And the cameras were just there to capture the magic happening in the room. And so your online audience or your digital audience was your secondary audience. And your live audience is your primary audience. Well, guess what? Now that camera is no longer just capturing the magic happening between you and your primary audience. The camera is now your primary audience. This is the primary audience. I cannot just engage with my live primary audience and just let the cameras do all the work. No. That doesn't translate well digitally. Actually, I have to know where the cameras are. Because when I look into a lens, it's the same as looking into the eyes of the people who are in a live setting. So number one, you need to know where the cameras are. Get a huddle with your production team. Know exactly how many cameras are recording you. I know that when I'm in this studio here in my garage, that I've just got one camera. That's easy. If you're doing something on a phone, that's simple. You've got one camera. But in the sanctuary at the church, there's 5 cameras in there. And I always need to know which ones are on, which ones are we using a day, and I need to look directly into the lens, and I need to use those cameras to my advantage based on the points that I'm preaching. Number 2, rehearse your material. Rehearse. All the things that you counted on in a live setting, you can no longer count on. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm a verbal processor, which means that in most live settings, as long as the energy in the room is good, as long as the worship team did a great job, as long as there's good lighting, as long as the audience is engaging with me, I can feel my way through a sermon. I'm funny enough, I'm charismatic enough to not necessarily have rehearsed every nook and cranny of a sermon. I actually like some of that spontaneity that comes with the mixture of my content and an audience response to my content. but we don't have the pleasure of experimenting that way anymore. That's just, we don't get the magic of engaging with a live audience anymore, which means the material has to be less spontaneous and more scripted. Less spontaneous and more scripted. Every time I engage with a live audience, sometimes I'm shocked at the material that clearly hits home for my audience. And sometimes I'm shocked at the material that I thought was going to blow people away that ends up flopping and failing. Well, with digital communication, that's no longer those odds, those chances are not left up to the whims of the mood of an audience. No, actually, you need to rehearse because you want to be scripted. In this season, substance matters. I want to say that again. Substance matters. And if you have not rehearsed, if you don't know your material, if you have not memorized your message and are able to deliver it at the drop of a dime, then I don't know if you're going to be able to keep up in this digital age of communication. Number 3, I want to remind you of this. You bring all the energy. All of it. You bring all the energy. Okay? Now, I've actually realized that when I'm recording digital content to send to churches, when I'm recording digital content for conferences or camps, I actually leave the sanctuary more drained. My voice is more hoarse. I mean, I am physically drained. My muscles are more sore. My diaphragm is more cramped. I mean, because you're exerting all the energy. This is no longer, the energy is not a two-way street anymore. The energy is a one-way street, which means, guess what? If you were in a live audience and you were at a 7 or an 8 in terms of your energy level, you need to be at a 10, 11, or 12 when you're dealing with a digital communication platform. You bring all the energy. Now, here's why that's important. Because in my previous point, I said that your content needs to be scripted. Well, not only does your content need to be scripted, but your energy needs to be scripted. I recently, me and my wife, we watched Hamilton. Or me and my wife have been to Vegas together. If you've ever been on Broadway or Vegas, one of the best things to do is to catch a show. When you catch a show, you realize this, that anyone who gets up in front of people, whether it's a comedian or a theatrical performance, they have rehearsed their content. Not only have they rehearsed their content, but the rehearsal and the memorization of their content does not take away their ability to deliver that content with power and passion. Now, a lot of people say, I don't want to be scripted because, I don't feel the power of the Holy Spirit that way. And I begin to go, well, man, I don't know what to tell you because I definitely feel the power of the Holy Spirit. Even right now, even when I've memorized the exact verbiage that I want to use. Scripted doesn't mean less spirited. You can be scripted and still know how to deliver your lines with power, with clarity, with passion. That is why you need to rehearse. I don't know if you need to create some office space or if you need to get to the sanctuary early and literally practice your message. Practice it before the camera crew gets there. Practice it wherever you need to go, whatever you need to do. Because we're going to talk about this with number 4. Here we go. This is a perfect segue. There is no filler content with online or digital communication. We had a technical difficulty on Easter at my church, at World Overcomers Christian Church. We had a technical difficulty. And one of the guys that works at the church is roommates with a prominent leader in our church. They're both single guys. They live together. It's financially incredible, right? And one of the guys, the guy that works at the church, is racing to the church because of this technical difficulty. And he was made aware of the technical difficulty because his friend and roommate was trying to stream our Easter service and couldn't because of this technical difficulty. And called the roommate that is not on staff, called the other roommate like, hey man, you may want to get to the church because he's on the tech team to figure out what's going on. And the guy that is a top level leader at our church said these words. Yeah, I'm just going to stream Elevation until my church figures out what they're doing. I want those words to sink in. This is a tithe-paying, committed, volunteering leader who is just like, the same way that I tuned in to your service, I can easily tune in to any other service, anywhere, which means this: there is no room for filler content. I'm telling you right now, I'm a verbal processor, so when I get on stage, I love all the pleasantries, right? You're honoring the pastor, you are, shouting out random people in the audience, you maybe do an impromptu giveaway, you're telling some funny jokes based on who's in the room. It's all circumstantial. Yeah, digital communication, there's no filler content, which means pacing matters. When you are communicating digitally, you want to move fast through your content. You don't want to belabor the points. You don't want to beat the proverbial dead horse. You don't want to repeat yourself. You just want to move swiftly through your content, which means you've got to know your content. You have to have internalized your content. And every moment that you spend doing this while the audience is looking at you is a moment that you're giving them an opportunity to stream somewhere else. If you're somebody who's more on the Pentecostal side, you don't rely on notes, you just rely on the Spirit, let me tell you something. Get some notes and memorize them. If you're more on the side of the spectrum where you are glued to your notes, you are reading a manuscript, that is not going to translate well digitally. Get your notes, memorize them, and deliver your lines. Deliver your lines. If someone on Broadway or in Vegas can deliver their lines with excellence, not for God or for anything, but just for excellence sake, then you can deliver your lines with excellence. Why? Because when we do things with excellence, it's not just for excellence sake. It's to glorify and to reflect. It is to glorify God and to reflect the fact that our God is a God of excellence. He's a God that doesn't cut corners. He's not like, it's enough stars. No, he's a God of creativity and excellence. The grass is like the right shade. Like, God is a God of excellence. And so when we're excellent, we honor him and we reflect the fact that we're made in his image. And I'm going to respect my craft as a communicator. If LeBron James can respect the game of basketball, I can respect my craft, which is to communicate with excellence. And I'm not joking. I try to communicate with perfection, not just excellence. I want to be perfect. Now, the only way to be perfect is to know your lines and nail them. We don't leave it up to chance. We are scripted, and we know what we want to say, and we say it with power and precision. Now, the last thing I want to say about this fourth point, when we talk about pace and we talk about no filler content, I want to alert you of the fact that when you're communicating digitally, you just don't have as much time as you would have had in a live setting. If you're used to preaching in a live setting for 35 or 40 or 45 minutes, you're going to want to go ahead and cut that right now, because a digital platform, that 45-minute talk is now going to turn into a 25 or 30-minute talk. You can just shave 15 minutes right off of it. And I want to tell you this. I love TED Talks. I don't know if you've watched TED Talks or if you're into TED Talks, but it's one of the most premier, prestigious platforms for communicators on the planet. and TED Talks are 18 minutes. And I've been consistently blown away by the content I've consumed on that platform. If a TED Talk speaker can nail it in 18 minutes, then you can nail it in 18 minutes. There's no need to belabor the point or not get to your point or get distracted or go off on tangents or say things that aren't relevant. Trim the fat. Digital communication means you've got to get lean. Your sermons, your messages, they've got to get lean. That means you've got to edit them and you've got to think yourself into clarity so that when you get up to speak, you know exactly what you want to say and you know exactly how you want to deliver your lines. Lastly, fifth tip, the reason you want to be a stickler about your script is so that you can follow the prompting of the Holy Spirit when it is time to deviate. I want to say it exactly how I've written it down. Be scripted so that when you get off your notes and start flowing in the power of the Holy Spirit, we know it's real and not just you getting bailed out because you didn't prepare. See, it's funny, one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is self-control, aka discipline. And sometimes as a communicator, I'm able to move spontaneously or what seems like powerfully because I'm in control. See, this is the dynamics between the fruit of the Spirit and the gifts of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is self-control. And the more self-control you have as a communicator, the more the gifts of the Holy Spirit can actually flow through you. I don't think the Holy Spirit, sometimes the Holy Spirit gets this label of being out of control. Well, no, the Holy Spirit's not out of control at all. No. When you're in control, you actually give the Holy Spirit room to do things that you didn't plan on. Now I want to say this, discernment works digitally. You want to make sure that you're prayed up before you get up on stage. You want to make sure that you invite a higher power into this experience. I know sometimes speaking to a camera can feel transactional, doesn't feel real. But I want to let you know that there are so many times where I've delivered the same exact sermon over and over and over again, but the Holy Spirit has tailored it to the audience that He knows is going to watch it. So you want to make room for the Holy Spirit. And so my first 4 points were all about being scripted. And I think that if we follow those first 4 points, then actually it empowers us to live out the 5th one, which is to allow the Holy Spirit to take control. I always say it this way, the more anchored I am, the more firm foundation I have, the more the Holy Spirit has the freedom to do whatever the Holy Spirit wants to do. But my anchor is found in the fact that I know what I want to say and I know how to say it. I'll say it this way. The Holy Spirit can interrupt me in the middle of a message, and the Holy Spirit can also interrupt me in the middle of my preparation for that message. Let's not relegate the Holy Spirit just to the times where we're on stage. The Holy Spirit is with you when you're in sermon prep, when you're studying, when you're getting your thoughts together. And we want to invite the Holy Spirit into the entire process because souls hang on the line. I believe that in this era where we're communicating digitally, I actually believe we can see more souls won, more marriages repaired. I actually believe that we can see hope come alive, faith resurrected in people. I think that we are living in a golden age of communication where someone doesn't have to feel awkward walking into church for the first time. They can encounter your sermon in the palm of their hands, in the comfort of their living room. And they may make a decision to follow Jesus without being bombarded by a bunch of people who they feel like are judging them. I think this is a golden opportunity for the church. I think the church is going from glory to glory, from strength to strength. Now, if any of these 5 tips helped you, I want to invite you to become a part of the SpeakEasy family, the SpeakEasy community. We've got so many products. We've grown a lot during COVID-19. Originally, we were just offering an e-course, and I swear by that e-course. I think the basic option or the premium option are both phenomenal products. no lie, people have reached out to us after going through the e-course and saying this was a total game changer. I never thought about preaching this way. And so for 59 bucks or for 79 bucks, you can honestly consume that content on your own in the privacy of your home. You can go through it with a crew of people if you'd like. I'm not going to be a stickler about you sharing your login. We make these things so that people can do ministry better. So for 59 bucks or 79 bucks, I invite you to purchase an e-course. You won't regret it. Now, since we launched that e-course, everyone that went through that e-course was kind of thinking to themselves, what's next? You know, I feel like this has kind of gotten me in position to crush it in terms of my communicating, but I need a community of other preachers and I need some more coaching. And so we created SpeakEasy 2.0, which is a community. And honestly, the private Facebook group is worth the $25 a month to become a member of SpeakEasy 2.0. The private Facebook group alone is gold. Recently, literally just earlier today, I released a series within that private Facebook group just on how to memorize your content. We produce valuable content every single month for that community. And me and my best friend Brian Bullock, who is a world-class communicator, me and my friend Brian, we do a 90-minute training session every single month for our SpeakEasy 2.0 community. It doesn't matter to me which product you feel like is best for you. Whatever product is best for you, I promise you this, that the audience that is going to hear you after you interact with SpeakEasy 1.0 or 2.0 will thank you that you invested into your gift so that you could offer them your best. Not your leftovers, not just what you were able to scrounge up with your church background or maybe your homiletics course that you took in college, but your best. If you've ever walked off stage kind of disappointed, thinking to yourself, I could have done a little bit better, then SpeakEasy is for you. I know exactly how that feels to walk off stage knowing, not just knowing that I didn't nail it, but not knowing how to fix the sermon so that the next time I deliver it, it will be better. The time for DIYing your sermons, that's over. Let me and Brian come into your life and provide you with some coaching, with some consulting, with some courses that are going to help you become the best communicator that you can be. Till next time, family, peace.